Okay, this video will show you how to conduct a milk audit by day using our automated milk audit function. To get started, go ahead and click on Milk Audit on the main dashboard. Down here, you'll see milk audits that you conducted in the past, along with the method that you used to conduct that milk audit. And then we also have a reminder here that you're going to want to wait until the month is closed out before you do the milk audit, because it will pull meal counts, menus, and food production from that month, and you'll want to make sure that those are finalized before you go ahead and do your milk audit. So you have three selections to make. The first is what month and year are you going to do a milk audit for? So we're going to look at February of 2020. And then we have two choices for calculation type. So we can calculate the amount that you should have used from attendance. That'll just take the minimum portion size requirements times how many kids in each age range attended. Or we can use food production amounts that you've recorded. If you're going to use food production amounts, just ensure that you've done a food production record for each of the meals at which you've served milk. Otherwise, it's going to pull incomplete amounts. So I'm going to choose calculated from attendance. And then we've got two audit types. This video is going to focus on the audit by day. And that goes meal by meal, day by day, and keeps track of your milk usage throughout the month. And that one's much more detailed. The one by month will just take the month as a whole. How much did you use? How much did you buy? And what's the bottom line for the month? So we're going to look at by day. To create a milk audit, click on this green button here, Create Milk Audit. And what it does is it pulls all of the amounts that you purchased from our expense tracking feature. So you'll want to use that if you want those pulled in automatically. And it pulls the usage calculated from any of your meal attendance, or of course your food production records if that's what you chose. So these columns here, you've got date and the meal type that's being used, the fluid milk type. So this particular center is using whole milk and 1% milk for their program. If you used a different type of milk, then you would see a different one there. And then we've got a column here for purchases. So anything that's an increase is going to show up here in this column. And then usage is going to be here. So these are all decreases that you're seeing. Then over here is a running total of what your balance is for each of the fluid milk types that you use. So again, this program is using whole milk and 1% milk. These other columns would be populated if your center were using the other types of milk. So it turns red if you're in the negative, which this one happens to be right off the bat negative, and that is because we haven't put in our opening balance yet, but you will see that it is negative. It goes down as milk is used, and it'll go up when you purchase, if there's a milk purchase that's been entered. All right, so let's go down to the bottom. If we need to change any of this data, we've got some options down here of doing manual increases and manual decreases. So anything that's pulled in from our expense tracking feature will have a little $ next to it. And that lets you know that it was pulled from our expense tracker. So here's an example right here. We recorded previously that on the 18th of February, we purchased this amount of milk. The manual increases that are added have a little check mark next to them. I'll show you that in just a second. But first, what we're going to do is add an opening balance. So I'm going to go back to the first of the month. And my reason, I'm going to add an opening balance. I'm going to say that we had 4.5 gallons of 1% milk on hand at the beginning of February. When I click save, what's going to happen is that the data is going to transfer from here up into this table. So when I click save, you'll now see an opening balance for 1% milk. I entered it in gallons, but it gets displayed in cups so that we are consistent in our units. And now you can see that we don't have a negative balance for 1% milk, but we still need to add our opening balance here for whole milk. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and do that really quick. We're going to February. Opening balance of whole milk, we're going to say we had 1.5 gallons on hand. I'm going to click save, and it's going to be populated into this table right here. So now we're not negative on our whole milk either. So what you want to do is take a look at these balances down here and look for anything that turns red, anything that is negative. That would be when you would have run out of milk. All right, and we're actually fine all the way until the end of the month here. So let's say that we forgot to record a purchase. We actually, on the 28th, on that last, we ran over to the grocery store and grabbed a quick gallon of milk of the 1%. So we're going to put that in on the 28th. It's a purchase, and it was a gallon of 1%. Now, this one's going to add with a little check mark next to it because this is a manual increase. This is not reflected in our expense tracking. So I'm going to click Save. And now when we go down to the bottom here on the 28th, you can see there's the manually added purchase, and we are no longer negative on our 1% milk. We can also add manual decreases. The reason for that would be if you serve more than the minimum portion size for the age ranges, because we just take the minimum portion size times the meal counts. So if you serve more than that, you'd have a faster decrease. The other one would be spoilage or waste. So let's say we had a gallon of whole milk get spilled around the 27th. And we'll put that in. And now you'll see that down here. On the 27th, we had spoilage waste of whole milk, and that decreases our total amount by 16 cups. So once you're done with your milk audit and you're satisfied that it reflects your operations, what you want to do is use your web browser to print this or save it as a PDF if you want. Otherwise, it will stay in the system just as this. So you can always come back and take a look at it anytime you want. So you just can go up here and do print. With the meal count by day, there's an awful lot of data on the screen. And so we recommend printing this one landscape so that everything's on one line. There's not any text wrapping. So you can print this, and that would be your milk audit for the month.